K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those on the take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks, well, it's Monday. We've made it through another one. That's right. This is Rick Robinson. You are listening to America Off the Rails, and it's just a couple minutes past the hour of 6 Central right here in beautiful downtown Oklahoma City. I am joined this evening by Mr. Jared Day, but before we bring him on, I do want to give a shout-out real quick to the affiliates. Quick shout-out to Red State Radio, where you can hear this show every Sunday morning at, I do believe it is 6 Eastern, so 5 in the morning Central. Also, the SHR Media crew, I think, is still running us at 4 in the morning Pacific, so actually, technically, I'm on about 12 hours apart between those two networks, so 6 a.m. Central, 6 p.m. Central. Also, High Point Radio out of New Jersey, one of the terrestrial stations that carries this particular show. I have not actually been informed as to what time they run us on, and their website doesn't tell me, so all I can tell you is feel free to tune in and check them out. They do have website access available if you're not in New Jersey. And also, of course, AMFM247.com, where the show can be heard every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 Central. Apologies to those folks. Last Friday, I was so busy house hunting, I forgot to send them a file. So they had an hour hole in their schedule, and were sending me emails trying to make sure I was still alive. But we fixed it for this week. I've already sent them 2, and by tonight I will have sent them the 3rd. So for anybody who was looking for me on AMFM247.com, I do apologize. The house hunting is taking a lot more out of me than I expected. So I have been really, really busy in between the job, the radio station, and trying to find the missus a house that she actually likes. Now, without further ado, good afternoon, Mr. Jared Day, host of Red Nation Rising Radio, and also, well, one of the hosts and the producer. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, Rick. Thanks for having me on for another Monday.
Hey, not a problem. I've told folks this before. Monday at the day job sucks, so having you on with me makes not only Monday go a lot smoother for me, but also makes it a little bit easier, and I know you've been looking for ways to expand your radio presence, so anything I can do to help, you know, I'm always going to try to do that anyway. We do have a lot to talk about this week. Couple of the just to kind of give a little bit of a recap, we have government completely out of control is one of the small stories that I've been coming across since this weekend. There is a town in Florida where they're now basically facing fines if their barbecue smell leaves their yard. We'll probably touch on that later in the show. Of course, the president was recently in Kenya, and of course the joke that fell flat around the world was the fact that he decided he wanted to make a joke about coming to Kenya to, or his critics, in his exact words, would say that he was probably coming to Kenya to get his, or to find his birth certificate, because that's actually been a pretty good recurring theme, as everybody's pretty sure he's not actually from here, at least folks of the conservative persuasion. I have to say I'm not real sure one way or the other. Jared, do you have any thoughts on that, or anything that you've seen that leads you to believe it's kind of a one way or the other type thing? Because at this point, I don't think it really matters. He's arrogant and he sucks.
I don't even care. I don't care if he was born in a cave in a remote, you know. He's his one of his feet is out the door. One of his feet is out the door, and he's wreaked havoc. And he's got until January 20th, 2017, and he can do a hell of a lot more damage. So wherever he was born, you know, it doesn't matter. We're not going to change it. If people didn't care about in the 2008 election all of the facts and his past that was dredged up, they're not going to care what country, what village he was born in. So, and his jokes are getting real old about the birther thing. I mean, nobody's laughing, and we saw what happened in Kenya.
Well, I mean, even the Kenyans didn't laugh. I mean,
yeah.
And they were just like, yeah, whatever. So, yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I guess I am disappointed when it comes to this administration as a whole, and at this point I'm actually including Congress, is they seem to be taking who was supposed to be a lame duck president and giving him more and more and more power and authority. That's not how this stuff is supposed to work, especially with this everything's been. This really should not be... with all the TPA, TPP, and everything else that's going on, we shouldn't be giving this guy more power. If anything, somebody should be trying to figure out a way to give him even less. Speaking of an overt ego trip and a little bit of a power grab, did you hear that basically he was warned by the Kenyan government not to say anything about gay rights in their country?
Yeah, he was silenced pretty quick.
Well, yeah, it wasn't even that. They actually told him up front, you know, I know what they're like. I know what's going on in America. We don't want you to talk about any of that stuff here. He did it anyway, and basically he was shouted down. So for somebody who likes to point out the fact that he doesn't like it when other presidents have gone to other countries and stepped all over their beliefs and cultures, he seems to like to do it pretty well when it's something that he agrees with.
He doesn't play by the same rules he expects others to play to. Anyway.
Very true, very true. But yeah, so anyway, the I guess I don't know. I mean, the joke that fell flat was a big deal. Actually, it was all over social media. Some folks said some really not nice things about him during that joke, which I thought were to me at least a little bit entertaining. Somebody actually pointed out that they didn't care whether he was born in America or Kenya, that he sucked as a president, and they hoped he was going to go away. Other folks were using not so nice language when it came to the president. One of them actually called him a few names that I don't really feel comfortable with saying on the air. So it seems like, all in all, the trip really didn't go over well with the American people, or actually even most of the folks in Kenya. Does anybody even know why it was he went over there?
Just to spend our money, I believe. That was an expensive trip. Now, we had 19 Democrats and one Republican, or 18 Democrats and one Republican. I don't know. But the one Republican that went was one of my esteemed senators, Jeff Flake, Mr. I Love Cuba himself. He's setting himself up to be the new Cuban ambassador. He's an Obama bootlicker, came into the Senate with Tea Party support, fooled all of us in Arizona. This guy's a bum. Yeah, they spent a lot of our money over the weekend to go there and have him get humiliated. Just more money down the toilet.
Yeah, I mean, has anybody even released how much money they've spent for that trip yet? Because it seems to me it was a major flop, however much they spent for it.
They did it, but I don't know the number, but it was significant.
To fill your tank. Nissan is America's most fuel-efficient full...
Really? Ad blocker fail. Oh, I'm so tired. I'm going to actually figure out a way to sit down and code an ad blocker that actually works. And then I'm going to sell it. Yeah. And then I'm going to retire.
You'd be a millionaire. Some of them will work, and then, there'll be a quick update, and they'll get around it. I mean, it'll last like 3 or 4 days before they update the code, and then you're hit with them again. So it's pretty much impossible to keep ahead of it, even if you update every day.
Yeah, I actually have gotten to the point where I have usually 2 or 3 different ad blockers that are all running at the same time. And it's like some will grab some will grab others, and some will grab some more. But there's always at least 1 or 2 sites that I go to, and they always manage to sneak through. It's really annoying, but I digress. So I guess another interesting story that came out over... I mean, I guess it's really just broken and gotten legs over the weekend, but it's been something that has been postulated for a while. Apparently, the Obama administration and the fledgling Clinton administration, the one that hopes to take the White House, they don't like each other very much. No secret, but apparently how much Obama dislikes Hillary Clinton is becoming rather apparent, because there's now all kinds of rumors circulating that one of these latest email debacles that she finds herself in is due to a leak from the White House. And it's been going around for a while, but it seems to be getting legs again lately, and it turns out one of the big players in this leak might actually be none other than Valerie Jarrett, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just goes to show that even the Democrats don't like each other. With as much as they like to point out the 16-car clown pileup wreck we have of a freaking primary system right now, they don't like each other any more than our side's guys do.
Well, they have their factions. They're just not quite as divided as the GOP is right now. Our GOP establishment is like a cancer, and they're divided in their own way, but not nearly as vehemently polar opposites. Because we conservatives are so diametrically opposed to what the GOP establishment is doing, because the GOP establishment is basically they're Democrats. If you go back 40 years, they're basically Democrats, in my opinion.
Yeah, pretty much. They're basically Democrats from about 40 years ago. So I agree with that entirely. It's interesting that you mentioned the divisiveness that's now starting to show up among the Republican Party. Have you heard of this new buzzword that's going around through social media? The term conservative? At least I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. I've never actually seen a phonetic breakdown, but it has to be one of the dumbest words I think I've ever seen.
Did you say click-servative?
cuckservative. It's spelled C-U-C-K, and then the rest is servative, like conservative, but they've respelled it.
No, but I guess it's not real surprising that that's the level of just throw a libturd at them.
Well, no, that's the thing. This is a term that other conservatives are using against other conservatives. This isn't even a liberal conservative.
I see. I just searched it. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of that. But the way that I have noticed in the last month or two, since Trump has really climbed in the polls, that people that conservatives that share very similar values and viewpoints on many issues are becoming really fiercely angry with each other. There was a few, I couldn't believe it. I didn't see this hashtag, but I see what you're saying, and I think it's really stupid for us to divide ourselves over the fact that I think part of it is that we just have so many presidential candidates that it's making people crazy, and I think we all got to chill out.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing that I didn't understand. I mean, I think honestly this term has just reached prevalency within about the last 7 to 10 days. And basically, for anyone who doesn't know what the term means, basically it's people that are completely against immigration, almost to the point where they don't even want legal immigration. It's a name that they are calling folks that are more, shall we say, have a more lax view of immigration. Also, folks like Jeb Bush that have made comments about how illegal immigration is an act of love, and also the ones that are pro or heavy, immigration reform. So basically what's happening is we now have sects of conservatism that have begun firing on one another because of one single issue, which is immigration. One of the things that concerns me, and I didn't notice this until Stacy pointed it out, because I produced their show yesterday and I had to help her get some clips and stuff together because JD was at a family reunion. One of the things that concerns me is I've noticed that a lot of the folks that are throwing around that term conservative or cookservative or whatever, or however the heck it's pronounced, they seem to, in large numbers, be associated with white power groups, which also seem to be glomming on rather heavily to Donald Trump. And I honestly am starting to get the impression that if we don't do something to make some major changes here really quickly, we are on the verge of a race war. And I don't say that lightly. I actually was having this conversation with Steve via email earlier today while I was at work. And I told him, I said, if we don't change things soon, I'm afraid we're about to see something that I thought I would never see in my lifetime, which is a full-blown, all-out race war. I thought we were past that point, but it seems we have gone backwards so far in between the immigration policies, the administration stances on immigration, the fact that the administration touts racial differences every chance they get, anywhere from the president down to the attorney general. I just honestly think that we're headed in the complete wrong direction. And I'm afraid that if we don't do something soon, we're going to see people trying to kill each other just because of the color of their skin. And a lot more often than we're seeing it now.
Well, there's no doubt. And, this has been building since he was running for office. And forget about it. When he took office, he instantly started dividing people and grouping them into by color and by socioeconomic class and by everything. And when you have billionaires like George Soros sending in agitators to Ferguson and paying them, and when you have every time there's one type of murder blasted through the media and pumped into everyone's living room, and then every weekend in Chicago, black on black crime is raging, or black on black crime is ignored. It's a total game, and everybody in the country has bought it, and everyone, like you said, it could come to that. But the thing is, what are we supposed to do about it? Because it's driven by the mainstream media, a partisan Justice Department, and a divider as a president, and we don't. That's pretty pretty hard to overcome where we're sitting.
No, I completely agree, and that's honestly one of the reasons I brought it up. Is I was hoping maybe you had an idea, because I don't honestly know what we're going to do at this point. Because you're right, we have the most partisan president ever, the most divisive president ever. We have an entire administration that's basically managed to do the few things that they've accomplished by completely dividing everybody and getting them fighting amongst themselves. We now have a Supreme Court that is legislating from the bench, which is not what they were intended for. And I mean, at this point, we are so far away from the government our founding fathers envisioned. I honestly don't know of a way to get it back without doing something drastic like the Convention of States. And the more people I talk to about that, the more they're concerned that that may not even help, because they're afraid they may get something that people typically coin a runaway convention. But
well, there's a big concern about that. And the Convention of States, the way it is now, they want to attack the spending. But just reining in the federal spending isn't going to solve societal problems that have been fueled by just a tyrannical, divided. I mean, I'm just going to say it because that guy is an Islamo-communist, in my opinion. That's the best way to describe him. And that, take it as a cuck-servative or a cluck-servative or an extreme, whatever you want to take it. That guy, it's the best definition for me of what he's doing. And you asked about a solution. There really is no solution while he's controlling the media. I mean, well, he's controlling the narrative that goes out, and well, we have a media that eats up the shootings whenever it's white on black, or a white cop on a black, or we have to just ride it out, and finding a solution. The sad thing is, the last time I saw this country united was after we were hit on 9/11, and you said something drastic has to happen, and something drastic might happen. We may not have any control over it. It may take an act of God or an act of radical Islam to bond us back together and start over. And it's not just going to be building relations, as stopping the tensions between race. Our whole system is out of whack, like you just described with the three branches of government. Everything is completely out of whack. So I don't know what it's going to take, Rick, but you're right. I agree with you that it's going to take something drastic.
Well, I mean, at this point, let's just be honest, because this is what concerns me. Yeah, right now we are in dire straits. But what concerns me, and actually it came from your group, actually, Red Nation Rising. I just saw something that they put out that just got retweeted a second ago. And it sums up exactly what I'm afraid is going to happen in this next election regardless. Because we already gave Congress and the Senate the closest thing to a landslide that we've had in forever. And yet we still have this going on. 65% of Republican voters believe Republicans aren't doing what they promised when they were elected. They wouldn't stop funding for Obamacare, did nothing about Obama's illegal amnesty, did not slow down spending, failed to pass Obamacare. So at that point, the Republican leadership, a.k.a. Boner, actually brought it back up again to make sure that it got passed. He couldn't care less what actual conservatives thinks. He sided with Pelosi and Democrats to push through his unpopular agenda. And yeah, it's all falling at his feet, but there's plenty of people that are supposed to be conservatives that are lining up right behind him. And whether that's because they feel they don't have a choice because he's been attacking folks and removing them from posts whenever they disagree with him, or whether that's because they ultimately align with him. What concerns me is I'm afraid at this point I don't honestly know who we can trust anymore. Just to be blunt, I don't know who we can trust anymore. Because Donald Trump, I love the fact that he basically says what he thinks, regardless of the consequences. I love the fact that he's got so much money that he doesn't feel like anybody can hurt him no matter what he does. But I don't think he's the best viable candidate. The problem is I don't know who is. Because they all say the right things until we put them in office, and then they do whatever the hell they want to do.
Yeah. Well, Donald Trump, I don't trust him at all, but I absolutely am intrigued and pumped up by everything he's saying, because he's saying what would come out of my mouth. And the fact that he said he was pro-life years ago, or that he gave Hillary Clinton money, or maybe he used to be a Democrat and now he's claiming to be a conservative. At this point, Rick, what the hell does it matter? This country is going down the shitter real fast. We need somebody with some balls to drag us out. And if he's going to, and I know he just talks about building a wall and thinks that's going to fix immigration. He's not stupid. He knows a wall isn't going to fix the whole problem. People say, and I'm not defending him. I'm not saying he's a solution. He's making people talk. He's going to make these other candidates talk. When they don't want to talk, they're going to have to talk about things that they would have rather not had to talk about during the primary. Maybe we'll get a better candidate out of it. Maybe Trump will be the nominee. I don't know. And I'm not going to divide myself among my friends, whether or not I support Trump or I don't support Trump. What he's doing, even though he's like a wrecking ball, I think it's a positive thing. And I like what he says.
Well, I'm not saying that I disagree with very much of anything that he said. I didn't like his attack on McCain. I would have stood by him if he would have attacked his record. As far as being a senator, I don't necessarily like what he said about McCain's time in a POW camp, but that's not for me to decide. The biggest thing that I don't like about Trump is something that I heard the other day, and it actually came from him directly. And I know from doing some research that it looks like Walker's camp was the first one to lob the grenade, so I can't really say too much about Trump responding. But I just heard something that came across as completely whiny to me, and it honestly annoyed me, because I deal with whiners a lot in my day job, and I've gotten really good at picking them out and realizing the tone that they're using and why they're using it. He actually, during a press conference of some kind, started complaining because he was no longer number one and now he was number two in a lot of swing states, with Walker taking the lead in a lot of swing states. And basically he just started saying, well, why don't you make me number one again so I can show this guy that I'm who you really want here? And I'm just thinking, well, if they really wanted you here, I'm sure they would have let you keep the lead in the swing states. So maybe there's something that you need to look at instead of whining about the fact that you're now number two in swing states. You've still got the lead overall, so what do you... I don't do whiners. They annoy me.
It is annoying, and Walker just jumped in, so he's going to have a boost. He should know that Walker's going to get a boost right away. And you know what? I can't stand whiners either. I didn't hear those clips, but I may have felt the same way.
I mean, it's not even really what he said. It was his tone. He was like, I for the first time since I've entered the race, I'm now officially number two, and we're now being beaten by Scott Walker in swing states. And then, of course, he had to go on and make some stupid comment because I guess Walker's team had said something crazy about him first. And then it came back to him again, and he was like, well, why don't you guys do what you can to make me number one again? I'm like, really?
Wow. Yeah, and I heard him say some things about Scott Walker trying to go on the attack a little bit. But, let's see if he whines in the debate. That'll be interesting.
I'm curious about the debate because I hadn't really looked at the format much. I actually learned some things from listening to Lou and Stacy yesterday. I didn't realize they were going to have like a main stage debate and a secondary stage debate because they have so many people that are going to wind up being at the debate session. And I found it interesting that Carly Fiorina, as of right now, is actually only slated to be on the secondary stage.
Yeah. So. I haven't been watching the polls real close, and I'm not a real big fan of polls anyway, but I'd like to see her in the top 5 stage, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, she deserves to be there for no other reason than she's one of the only female candidates that we have, and if we do wind up having to put somebody against Hillary, I would feel much more comfortable putting a woman against her anyway, because at least that would take one of the only things away from the reason why she may get some votes. Because at this point, let's face it, her campaign is on fire, and not in a good way. There are actually now folks that have been postulating for months now that this email situation might actually wind up having her trade her pantsuit for a prison orange jumpsuit. And we actually have a clip that we'll be playing about the email here in just a second. But we actually do need to go ahead and take the bottom of the hour break. So we're going to take a couple of quick commercials. We'll be right back. Then we're going to do a little bit more talking about this email scandal that we touched on at the beginning of the show. And also have some information that Marco Rubio felt like sharing about almost said Romney, about Donald Trump. And we will be back here in just a couple minutes.
Red Nation Rising brings you Town Hall Radio.
From a single tweet to 3 million a month, our community is a force to be reckoned with on social media.
So don't miss our show, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on K98 Talk.
Our chat room is our co-host, and you ask the question.
Join us and be heard.
So get ready to sound off on Red Nation Rising Radio. No one else is going to do it for you.
There's a wild, wild whisper blowing in the wind, calling out my name like a long lost friend.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
K98Talk.com, a leader in Internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members, of their families or their children, asking them to deploy, patrol, stay on watch, on point, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to bring them all the way home, to keep them secure, to have their backs for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs do whatever it takes to help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Find out how you can help at findwwp.org.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, for Game On. Remember,
lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of libertarian conservatism.
Where no one is safe, no one is spared, not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola
anyway.
radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment.
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com.
All right, folks, we're back. We're live. This is America Off the Rails, and of course, this is the Monday edition. So I do have in the co-host chair Mr. Jared Day, producer of Red Nation Rising Radio, and one of the hosts. Now, as promised, before we went to break, I did mention that we have a couple of clips we want to touch on. I think since the Hillary subject was one of the ones that we were talking about the longest ago, we'll go ahead and backtrack there and start, because I do have a clip that kind of talks a little bit about that email scandal. And again, as a reminder, rumors circulating that this whole thing started because of the Obama White House. So if anybody thinks the Democrats like each other, it couldn't be too much further from the truth, especially when it comes to these two camps.
As Congressman Cummings made clear this morning, maybe the heat is getting to everybody. We all have a responsibility to get this right. I have released 55,000 pages of emails. I have said repeatedly that I will answer questions before the House committee. We are all accountable to the American people to get the facts right, and I will do my part.
Okay, so my question, if you admit that you need to do your part, why haven't you just submitted the server? If you're willing to go before Congress and answer questions, why have you ignored their subpoena? I'm confused.
Well, first of all, that clip, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm just picturing my knuckles being ground on a cheese grater as she's talking. I really dread listening to that for months during a presidential campaign. But yeah, she had plenty of chance to release the stuff, and she could have done it immediately when it hit the media, but her lawyers jumped in, and look, she's going to hold off as long as she can. I haven't been following it close to a T, and I'm glad that they're trying to do what they can to get her before a Senate subcommittee or whoever she's going to, whoever the hearing's in front of. But I don't have a lot of confidence that they're going to find out if she's released anything really damaging out to other countries, or they're going to cover everything up, basically. And I just think she's going to get away with it. And, if they weren't doing anything to try, and I'd be worried, but I don't have a lot of confidence in them policing themselves, if you know what I mean.
No, I completely understand. And that is kind of the issue that we have right now, is we're basically looking at branches of government to police themselves. Again, a lot of my concerns here are the fact that I think you're right. I think in some respects she's going to manage to get away with it. I also think that in some respects this was something that was put out by the Obama administration because they don't necessarily want Hillary Clinton to be the next nominee. And I think a lot of that has to do with bad blood between the two families, because my understanding from some connections that I have that have asked to remain nameless is the Clintons took a lot of credit for Obama winding up where he is. And they had basically said, at this point, we know that she's not going to get the nomination, so we're going to throw our support behind you. There are a couple things we want from you in return, and when the time comes, we want you to throw your support behind her. And there was apparently a phone conversation that happened shortly after Barack Obama was elected the first time. And basically he told, at least from my understanding, Bill Clinton to basically, and to put it in radio-friendly terms, he told him to go fly a kite. Because as far as he was concerned, he got where he was on his own and he didn't need to repay any favors. So apparently there's been some bad blood between these two families now for nearly 7 years. And I think it's only getting worse at this point. And it concerns me in some respects that the president would use somebody like Valerie Jarrett as heavily as he has in many, many ways. Even if in this one instance, I think they did the right thing for the wrong reasons. Because the truth needs to be known about what it is that the Clintons have done. I mean, let's face it. She's been in the spotlight for this type of crap before. I mean, she was removed from the Watergate wasn't she part of the Watergate Commission, if memory serves, or affiliated with Watergate somehow as an attorney, and she was removed for falsifying documents, and yet people are going to take her at her word that she's released all of the documentation? I mean, I've even seen a meme going around now that has basically, somebody's managed to combine pictures that look like Nixon and Clinton, and they talk about 3 or 4 minutes of videotape versus an email server. What difference does it make now? Or audio tape. And she ultimately is, without actually being a sitting president, the Nixon of our time, because this thing is just, it's not going to go away for her unless she buys somebody off. And according to her, they don't have the money to do that, so I guess we'll have to see what happens.
With Benghazi, she was absolutely complicit, and her own staffers told journalist Cheryl Atkinson did amazing work. You remember, probably. Even last year, they had weekend document shredding after-hours parties, and one of her main staffers spoke out to the media, to a few sources, and she shredded vital documents during that time, even, that recent, that could have been. She's guilty. I'm sure that there's, and you're right about the bad blood. I mean, who knows how many things are going on there that we will never know. You know what I mean?
No, that is completely, I mean, honestly, there are some things that we are never, ever going to know. I don't know. I've never much cared for Hillary. The Benghazi situation, once I found out that she was, whether she wants to admit it or not, everybody knows she was using an unsecured server, or a server at least that didn't meet government standards to conduct Secretary of State business. It makes me understand a lot more about how Benghazi came about when you really stop and think about it, because there were emails, I'm sure, going back and forth over that entire situation on that server. And I think that's one of the reasons why she's doing everything she can to keep the server from going to light and picking and choosing the emails that are released. Because try as she might, anybody with half a brain knows that once you put something on the internet, it never actually truly goes away. It takes an act of God to get anything out of cyberspace. So even if they wipe the server, there's still going to be a record of everything somewhere, because it's going to have gone to somewhere, and there will still be
a log, some sort of log somewhere on some hub somewhere that transmission went through.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think what she's going through could happen to a less nicer person. I mean, because let's face it, she's not a nice person. And I don't necessarily wish her any ill, but I definitely don't want to see her as the next president of the United States. Don't want to see Bernie Sanders as the next president of the United States either. He's Bryce's choice. I actually pick on Bryce a lot on Finding Common Ground, because he'll start mentioning how much he likes Bernie, and I start playing in the background really, really softly "If Loving You Is Wrong," and he starts cracking up every single time.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I would need to do is read some history of Marx and what it was like in the Soviet Union, and then I think I would turn away from Sanders pretty quick, even if I was a Democrat. That's just me, though.
Well, see, the thing about it is, and how they make themselves feel better about it is, Sanders is not a communist; he's a democratic socialist. To them, there's a difference. To us that understand how it works, we understand that there is a difference, but there's a slight difference, and eventually it will lead to the same thing. But to them, there's still a remarkable difference between a democratic socialist and a full-blown communist. To me, there really is no difference. The only difference is one typically gets there by revolution, the other one gets there by reform. So typically, at least for the short term, one is less violent than the other. But eventually, when one becomes full-blown communist, which they typically do, then at that point, you see the violence actually resurge. So it's basically a delaying of the inevitable. Okay, so we are down to a little over 10 minutes at this point. I do want to get in this one other clip because I thought that Marco Rubio said some pretty insightful things when it comes to the Trump run-up here. And actually, Stacey and Lou did use this one yesterday, but I'm going to use it anyway because I thought it was pretty cool.
You would like to be president of the United States. So would Donald Trump. He's making a lot of waves. It started a couple of weeks ago when he made the comments about immigration. Now it seems like everybody's talking about immigration. First of all, yesterday we heard the Donald, who's, by the way, going to join us in about 20 minutes. Lindsey Graham was in his crosshairs. Are you worried he might make you his next target?
Well, he might. He said
immigration?
He said things about me already before. Look, here's the bottom. Immigration is a legitimate issue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big problem for the country. You have people that are committing crimes. They're deported. We allow them back in, and then we have cities that refuse to report them. Legitimate issue. We have a porous border, meaning not just the border with Mexico, but 40% of people in this country illegally are overstaying visas. Legitimate issue. Broken legal immigration issue. We're accepting people on the basis of who they know. They have a relative living here, not what they can contribute.
So you and Donald Trump are on the same page on all this.
But here's what's so important to me. The presidency of the United States is not just the top government official. It is the leader of our people and of our nation as well. It is important that we have to conduct the presidency has to be done in a dignified way with a level of class.
Do you believe Donald Trump can do that?
I don't think that the way he's behaved over the last few weeks is either dignified or worthy of the office that he seeks. We already have a president now that has no class. I mean, we have a president now that does selfie stick videos, that invites YouTube stars there, people that eat cereal out of a bathtub, that accuses his. You just saw the interview he did right now, where he goes on comedy shows to talk about something as serious as Iran. The list goes on and on. It is important for us to have a presidency that restores dignity and class to the White House. And I don't believe that some of the language that Mr. Trump is employing is worthy of the office. I just do not.
Right. But there's something.
So any thoughts on that?
No. Sorry, I was away for a second. I think that a litmus test for these candidates should be not just a general statement on immigration, but some concrete facts about how they would handle the H-1B visa program, and also the refugees. And I'd probably be considered a extremist on immigration. I just don't see putting 100,000 Somali Muslims in Minnesota and then a bunch more Syrian refugees in Idaho and one concentrated area as a good thing. I don't see elevating the level of worker visa, H-1B visas, in a time when the fake unemployment numbers are. We actually need jobs here. We need the good tech jobs. We need lower skilled jobs. I think that people can talk all they want about securing the border. How long have we been hearing that? It's been years. And wall, no wall, part of a wall, immigration reform. It's all. We know the Chamber of Commerce wants as many foreign workers coming into the country as possible. They profit from it. Every state's Chamber of Commerce profits from it. And the Chamber works directly with the establishment wing of both parties. And it's just, I think that when they have this discussion on immigration, I heard what Rubio was saying. They need to get into some specifics about those things, and they need to get some promises from people. And then we need to, then we'll find out who's going to keep their promises, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think we need to stop letting folks so much talk about immigration and telling us what they're going to be doing about immigration. Because what concerns me typically sound about the same. I mean, other than Trump, of course, who basically just takes it as far as he can push it, which is both a good and a bad thing, in my opinion.
Right.
And I seem to... Oh, there we go. There for about 10 seconds, I lost the connection. I don't know what happened. It was weird. All right. So, anyway, I agree with a lot of what he said. At the same time, though, I do have my own concerns about his plans for the administration. And I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do half of the things that he thinks he's going to be able to do, which is what concerns me.
Confident. I like.
Jared, are you back? Oh, nope. He's gone. Alright, folks, bear with me for just a second. I think we might actually be somewhat back now. I'm still trying to clean up a technical issue here, so I'll be right back with you here in just a second. And let me try to Jared back. Alright, Jared, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was disconnected.
Yeah, I lost everything for a second there. So, fun times. Apparently, my... See, the thing about it is I have Uverse. I don't know if anybody out there has Uverse, but the interesting thing about Uverse is when they go to add somebody else in the network in your area, they don't tell you that you're going to lose service for at least 60 seconds. So, I'm guessing I had somebody in my neighborhood that just got connected because everything went dark for like a minute. Now it's back. I'm like, woohoo! Fun times.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, I don't even know where we were because I was trying to fight to keep the connection, and then I lost you.
Talking about Rubio on immigration, and I was just saying I like Rubio, but I certainly don't support his stance on immigration. I don't trust him on immigration. I think that he would be very H-1B visa happy and be throwing them out there like candy. He's got some ties in with I think it's Oracle, a tech company, a couple of tech companies, and we want those tech jobs to look. Am I selfish? Sure, I'm selfish when it comes to my own country. I want to see the tech jobs go to my kids and my kids' friends when they get out of school. I want them to have first crack at those. I don't want people just coming in here on a H-1B visa, which we have too many of, and getting an advantage. So am I I'd certainly be called a racist by many people just for saying that, and I really don't care. It's the truth.
Not really, because you're not saying that you only want the white kids to get first crack at the jobs. You're saying you want the American kids to get first crack at the jobs. I 100% agree with that. That's one of my biggest problems with the fact that we keep continuing to ship our jobs overseas. That's one of the biggest problems I have with Mr. Donald Trump and his newfound stance on illegal immigration. Do you have any idea how many illegal immigrants he probably employs, and yet he's railing against them? I find that a little problematic to me. I think we have enough hypocrites in office. I don't think we need another one. We already have had one of the biggest hypocrites in the White House in the last 7 years, and as much as I would love the chance to sit down and talk to Donald Trump and give him a chance to give his side of the story without somebody attacking him over it, I just have to say that I don't think he's being honest when he comes out and starts talking about being so anti-immigration, because the simple fact of the matter is, you know as well as I do, that he probably employs more illegal immigrants than he wants to admit, especially during his presidential campaign. And that's actually one of the things I've seen come out a couple of times is there have been some folks that have threatened to release exactly how many different illegal immigrants are employed inside of his businesses, and for some reason they haven't done it yet. I think they may wait to see just how far he's willing to go. And I think that may be one of the reasons, because I keep hearing rumblings that there are lots of folks that are convinced he's not serious, that there's no way he's going to be able to run for president, that they know there's no way he's going to be able to run for president, and that at some point they just figure he's going to bow out and leave. And I think that may be why we have all of these folks that keep talking about all this information that they have, and yet they haven't used it yet, is I think they're going to wait to see how far he goes and then just kind of torpedo him, kind of like what's going on with Hillary right now.
Yeah, well, two options. He's going to be a spoiler and ruin it and let Hillary become president or whoever the Democrat nominee is. Or number two, maybe he'll drop out and throw Cruz a boatload of cash.
I think he's already donated to Cruz. If memory serves, I think there was a story I saw the other day that he had already recently donated. I think it was to Cruz. I know he's donated to somebody, which I thought was interesting that he was making donations while he was campaigning on his own. But
yeah, I just don't think it's going to be carried out through the end. I agree with you on that. It's going to be real interesting to see how it plays out.
I mean, I do like to, in some respects, what he's doing, because I like the fact that he's forcing candidates to talk about things like you said at the beginning of the show, things they wouldn't necessarily talk about, things they're not even comfortable talking about. I mean, I actually saw somebody who put it rather well, and I'm going to paraphrase it just a little bit. But, you know, they always talk about this third rail of politics. Donald Trump rides that third rail like a surfer. He doesn't give a crap. He just tells everybody what he thinks. The third rail that knocks everybody else out seems to be causing him to pick up steam. And I think part of it is because he's tapped into all of this anger within the Conservative Party as a whole.
Absolutely.
And I think he's resonating with a lot of folks that have had pin-up anger. The problem is, again, something that I've noticed, and I don't know if I've mentioned this yet on this show because I was having some of this conversation in email earlier today. I've noticed that a lot of the folks that are following Donald Trump and a lot of the folks that he retweets, they seem to be rather small accounts, semi-trollish accounts, and they seem to have white supremacy leanings. So I think by tapping into anger, I think he may be taking it just a step too far. Just saying.
Yeah, he could be, and he could be drawing out people out of the woodwork that. Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
All right, well, thanks to the technical issue, we actually, I think, lost pretty close to about 2 or 3 minutes. We are actually now coming to the close of the time slot for the show. So, as a reminder, why don't you give everybody a quick overview of where they can find you, different places you contribute, what you've got coming up on Thursday, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm at rebootingliberty.com. Everything I have is over there. And Thursday night on Red Nation Rising Radio, we have Gene Baradelli. His show is played on K98 Talk, as well as many other places. And he got the #1 Podcast of the Year award in 2015. It'll be a great show. Tune in to all 3 shows Thursday night, by the way. America Off the Rails, Red Nation Rising Radio, and Game On with JD and Stacy.
I gotta say, thanks to you guys taking that middle slot on Thursdays, that's actually become one of our best performing nights. The only other night that's beat it so far recently, at least in the nighttime slots, was when I did my interview with John Sununu. It took a while for the server to catch up, but we did actually have quite a few people listening on that one. Thanks to everybody. And I just want to say this. Thanks to everybody who's tuning in. I don't care if you're conservative, libertarian, and I do mean a lot of our shows are actually starting to get legs. Actually, Bryce, the host I mentioned earlier to you today, Jared, for the first time ever, one of his shows is actually not only broken triple digits, it's actually up over 200. Yesterday, Steve Long, host of Liberty Unfiltered, returned to the airwaves. Last night, he had about 25 lives. So far, at last count, before I went live today, that show has already been listened to over 102 times, including the live listeners. And you guys recently had a pretty strong showing as well. I think you had one that, if memory serves, I think it either got really close to 300 or actually broke 300, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, one of them has 700 or 800 because she's running against John McCain, our guest. But I'll tell you, the numbers, I was checking out the numbers the other day, and that's great about those two shows. That's incredible. And all the numbers for all the shows combined in the last month, it like cranked past 50,000 listens, and it just keeps moving. We're going to be at 75,000. I think we're getting more listeners, and I think more people are getting involved, and it's the listeners. It's the listeners that are making all of this happen. We're just here talking. It's my opinion. We just talk, and we're trying to find solutions. We're trying to get people involved. Our show is getting people involved by talking with the guests, and I think I'm really thrilled to be part of K98 Talk and be able to come on your show as well as do the other show. So I just wanted to. I know I often thank you, Rick, but I truly mean it. It's a honor and a privilege to be part of it.
Well, I'm just glad that you guys are here. And actually, I don't know if you had a chance to go back and listen to the Thursday show that you missed, but they did finally make the announcement. So since you weren't actually part of that announcement, and nothing is scheduled to come on past me, so it's okay for us to run a couple seconds over. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about, now that they've officially made the announcement, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody that may not know about it, what happened with Red Nation Rising over the last couple of weeks?
Oh, yeah, on Stitcher Radio, the new numbers came out for that platform, which is a great mobile platform to listen to the internet radio on. And we got a really big bump. We were 45th on all categories for movement. And the list on our own category in news and politics, we're now in the top 100 at 76. And I looked around on that list of top 100, and I was surprised to see who was around us. Fox News Sunday, Bill O'Reilly, Ben Shapiro's show, just shows that, they're shows that are on television and terrestrial radio. So that tells me that our listeners are engaged. They're listening every week, and they're propelling us to get some numbers. And in turn, they're going to amplify their own voice, because we reach out to our listeners to see who they want to have on as a guest. And I think that it's a real honor to get in that top 100. But our show is driven by our listeners, and that's who I give the credit to, and the platform, of course. K98 Talk.
Hey, it's like I tell everybody else. You guys are doing the hard part. You guys are the ones that are promoting the heck out of your shows. I just give you the platform, so I appreciate all the kudos, but you guys have actually done the lion's share of the work when it comes to how popular your show is. I'm just honored to have not only it here, but you here. And I know I say this almost every time I talk to you, but I feel it always bears repeating. You guys have a home here for as long as I have the lights on. That's never going to change. So I just want to make that clear.
Awesome.
Well, all right. So at this point, we are going to have to go ahead and cut it. I would say cut it short, but we're actually running long at this point. It's been my pleasure to have Jared Day, host of Red Nation Rising Radio, one of the fastest rising talk shows on the internet, with me this evening on America Off the Rails. I'll be back with you tomorrow night at my usual time. And don't forget to check us out on the affiliates. Talk to you guys next time we meet. Take care. God bless. Put down the remote. Get off the couch. Get involved. It's time to make a difference.
You guys, I'm getting him. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.